value over values, what I'm bringing to the table. Purple, black and white, you know that all block is the label. I educate my mind so I could educate my people. I'm staking all the ethers from the trading I invest.
Hello to the All Block community, and this is the All Talk Show. Once again, I have with me members of the team, and we're going to head right on to the topic of discussion today, which we're going to be talking about blockchain in agriculture. It's actually a very interesting one, and it's broad in a sense, and we hope to dive deep into this conversation and get you locked in. So Isaac, hope you're good.
Yeah, I'm good, bro.
You look fresh.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, sir.
That's great. So, what do you think about blockchain in agriculture?
Well, like I told you, it's actually a very interesting topic because I think it's a clash of two words: the word of blockchain and the word of agriculture. Which in these two words, there is a lot going on already. So it's like we are trying to bridge, two words together.
Okay.
So I think it's a very interesting topic. I think it's a topic that is going to enlighten both the tech savvy and the non-tech savvy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a way to talk about it. And map. Oh, map. You're good.
I'm okay.
You look fresh.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Yourself, you look dope.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh wow. So, what do you think about the topic blockchain in agriculture?
Blockchain in agriculture. Like when I got the memo that we're talking about blockchain agriculture, I was excited.
Oh wow.
Super excited because food is something I love food. So
Yes.
we have to discuss if our topic is to discuss a better way of how we can produce food.
Yeah.
I'm up for it, my brother.
That's great. So yeah, we're talking about food in a sense. So now I'm sure most of you, if you're a constant follower of our page, you would by now understand the term blockchain. But now I think agriculture is kind of a new concept. But I'm sure a lot of experience is, a lot of us have experiences around agriculture because, like Map said, food. So yeah, agriculture talks mostly about
food.
It talks mostly about food. So I guess we'll try to dive a bit deeper into agriculture, trying to dissect what it means to actually say agriculture or implementing factors in agriculture. I will have to throw that to Map. Since you said you spoke about food, how can we understand food better? What's about food? I mean, if I'm hungry, I know I'm supposed to eat to get energy. But
Yeah.
what are the things I should also pay attention to when I think about food?
The question is not arranged for me. Because no, I'm coming because if you allow me to speak like this, I will speak for long.
Go far. Yeah, I understand. Because me, I was trying to aim to a specific point where we are arriving at how does food get to the table? Talking about the chain of production, or maybe how is it possible for me to go to the market and find something I want to eat? How is that possible?
There are so many things that come in play, but if I understand the question well, in my own sense, food basically you don't just go to the market and food is there. Voila. Seeds. You have to think of seeds. You have to think of soil type.
Okay.
You have to think of method of farming.
Okay.
You have to think about the fertilizers.
Okay.
You have to think about the everyday irrigation system. You have to think about just like you drink water, plants drink water too. And when the thing people don't understand is when you don't supply these things, you would have a produce, but you have a produce that is malnourished. You understand? So all these things, the care from seed to fruits is a whole different process to even have cereal on the table. You have to think about cereal from what? Cereal from maize or cereal from whatever cereal class.
Okay.
You have to think about there were once seeds that you couldn't just eat, that has to be taken to the farm, and certain things you have to take care of it from nurturing it to becoming a produce that you can reproduce into other things.
That's great. From coming from there, I mean, MAP has been able to clarify or break down, processes it takes to actually find fruits like apples or fruits like mango or, vegetables like what's it called, ugu, vegetables like bitter leaf, how we end up finding them in the marketplaces and whatnot. It takes a lot of process from the farm and whatnot. But he has focused a lot on like plant-based food or plant-based agriculture. I'm sure it breaks down into even outside plants. And I think Zeke has an idea on, how far agriculture can actually go in terms of what it can produce.
All right, agriculture. When you say agriculture, it entails a lot of things, right? Just like Mapap said, he has talked about the plants part of agriculture. We also have the animal part of agriculture, which is where we get our meat, the meat we eat on a daily basis, and as well when we get the milk that we use, and so many other things like those that eat cheese and a lot of things too. So agriculture is a sector that has sub-sectors, all of them playing together to actually take the industry to what it is today. You understand? So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it actually does. I mean, it has been able to show us like a few faces basically that agriculture presents, especially when we're talking about how we see food on the table. Most people, they are either vegetarians or they eat a lot of meat. This is mostly the source of our food. In most cases, either vegetables, plants, fruits, or meat, animals, so to say. And now, talking about food, we now have to try to understand waste. I mean, there are some people that are hungry in the world. If we're looking at the world in general, I mean, it's just not some days back or a few days back, I saw an advertisement where I think is it the World Health Organization or something, an organization, so to say, kind of like a foundation. They put an ad out where they are trying to advocate for people to, support a movement that seeks to feed hungry people in Africa, things like that, charity kind of movements. There are obviously charity movements here and there, but why is that? Because if you look at the statistics around food production and around wastage in terms of food, there's a whole lot of waste in terms of food, and there are still people that are getting hungry at the same time. And these are two problems that can solve themselves. But why are these problems not being solved? So now, what I'll try to look in that aspect, especially when we're talking about this topic we're trying to go into, which is blockchain and agriculture, but blockchain in agriculture. Where do you think blockchain can play a role in terms of food wastage?
All right, we have to understand things here, so there is a limit to what technology can do, and there's a limit to what human factor can do. You understand? Most of the food wastage that we have in the world has more to do with human factor than technology, in as much as technology can help and enhance or make it more efficient. So we should look at technology holistically. Like, it's not supposed to be the law, it's supposed to help propagate what we already have, make it more efficient. So that's being said, right? Because when we're talking about blockchain and agriculture, so now you're talking about food wastage. Like I said, food wastage has more to do with human factor than the tech. You understand? So we have to start, if it has to do with education, educating farmers, educating the grassroots people on how to store the food, on how to maintain, use preservatives where it is necessary, or even using the right fertilizers when it comes to planting. You understand? Because some of these things affect the growth of the plants or the food that is being grown. When it's being harvested, is almost useless. It can easily go to waste. So a lot of research and a lot of education has to also go into that area of educating farmers and helping them understand the best way to do some of these things, so that they can help cut the amount of food
wastage in terms of, you're not talking about household waste.
Yeah, both household waste and the farmers that are in the farming. You understand? You have to educate them. You understand? For them to know the right method.
Because we're talking about a concept like shipping the food from a certain region in a country,
Mm-hmm.
a whole bunch of yam, tubers of yams or so, tubers of yam, you
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah.
Shipping it to another part of a country, and then the shipment, the data for the shipment does not, like, there's a mistake or there's an error in the data for shipment, or there's a miscalculation in data for shipment, which ends up that the yam that was sold, there are still some left that didn't get sold at the end of the day, and they end up getting spoiled. That's also a form of wastage in that sense.
Yeah, sure.
So, do you think that is a human error or a tech error or just a mismanagement?
Okay, I think, okay. Before I answer that, I also want to say the major food wastage is not happening at that level.
Okay.
The major food wastage is happening at the grassroots level, which is the farmers level.
The farmers level.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a lot of food being wasted at that level because there is not enough research that is going towards that level to enhance farmers' knowledge when it comes to agriculture in general, or when it comes to preservation and the rest.
But now you're looking at farmers, like local farmers. What if we're looking at farmers that are already established, like companies that own large acres of lands and they perform like plantations, like have big plantations around different crop produce.
Yeah.
Are you still trying to say even at that level there's still a huge amount of waste starting from the production?
Yeah, the thing you have to understand about some of these things is old habits never die. You understand? Even as there might be big companies and all that, but they might still be using old method of doing things. You understand? And that old method is what result into probably wastage of food. Even at that level. You understand? We have big people like in Nigeria, like Dangote and the rest of them. And you can't tell me they are even advanced when it comes to technology and when it comes to educating farmers. You understand? So we also have to educate the farmers at that level. Then once we're done with that, then we can grow to the level we are talking about. And the level we are talking about, and when it comes to transportation, is where technology is going to play a fantastic role. Because you can now start talking about database and automation and the rest. So technology can make things more efficient at that level. You understand? At the same time, it can also make things efficient at the grassroots level too. But the grassroots level, one of the things that is going to make it more efficient is more research going towards that area. You understand? And more education going towards that area too.
Great. So before I even jump a bit further, Mark, do you have any highlights to throw into where we are currently at the conversation?
Zeke raised some really interesting points. And I had to bring out my plate to put something in
it.
And he spoke a lot about education. To run any industry properly, enough education has to be given to it. And where does education come from? You don't fabricate education. You don't fabricate it. You build a custody of materials that you educate people with from data that you've gotten. You understand? And in agriculture, I feel there is not enough. There are data, but there's no consistency within. There's no consistency in the data. In the sense that you can trace back your history. Right? You can your father, your grandfather, your great grandfather, the crops that we eat now. They are from a certain crops that existed maybe few years back. Right? Can we trace, assuming there's an outbreak of health issues from certain food that we are eating? How do we trace back and understand exactly what the situation is? Where did we miss it? That's what blockchain brings to the table. Traceability from the seed. Every seed can be properly documented on the blockchain. What people don't understand, I don't like to I don't like to make things look complex. So break it down. Blockchain is a spreadsheet. Blockchain is a data ledger. It's like it's just a data box that takes in data and showcases the data at request. At no point can you alter the flow because they are stacked on top of each other.
Okay.
You can build a sustainable database for anything. And if you look at agriculture, there's a lot, like Zig said, there's a lot. It goes beyond just the concept of agriculture derives food. We derive food from agriculture. No. There are certain things like we need to look at. Proper management of the agriculture. Look, we could basically know from which seed did a plant come from.
Okay.
We can know what are the properties that the seed was having. We can have it stored on the blockchain. We can take let's say you plant from a seed of mango, you were able to produce a lot of mangoes, right? You planted a tree and the tree started producing mangoes. They would, just like we share in the DNA of our ancestors, the mangoes that will come out of the tree share in the DNA of the seed that we planted. And assuming the seed has certain things that affect human beings, how are we able to know which tree did we get it from?
Okay, that's beautiful.
Traceability. Blockchain brings it. And this is a big factor because of the data that comes from traceability can be accessible to the medical sector. We need to understand that the food we eat is not just food. We need to make sure that we not just cut wastage, because if there is proper documentation of at the seed level, we can basically do a follow-up. We can know this tree on a proper harvesting season, how many produce comes out of this, and that could be documented. That could help us manage planting seasons. Okay, there will be enough from this season, so we can help. When it's talking about education, this can help inform farmers on planting season and farming methods. You can say, okay, if the produce coming out of this season will be a lot, and I will need a lot of back end work to register and make sure the seeds are going and it will be sufficient for the market. Maybe I can do how do you call it? Farm rotation system, where I plant this and rather than repeating the same plant, since this will be sufficient, I introduce a different crop type. You see, all this blockchain can really, really, really change how we see food. You could basically have a pack of plantain chips, and with just a code, you could basically understand from what country
it's originated.
What were the processes? Is it from a lab? Is it from a special kind of treatment? What were the processes that what I'm eating? I want to be informed. I want to know how it affects my health. And that's a lot of data, and that comes from what blockchain can bring to agriculture.
That's beautifully said. It's very well integrated actually. And I hope we've been able to follow up so far on the conversation, and how we've been able to understand now that, okay, blockchain is actually kind of essential, if not an essential technology that we should start considering imputing in our cultural system. Because looking at how Isaac was trying to explain the fact that, most of the wastage, we're talking about trying to feed the hungry here, yeah? So now, talking about the waste that we have in terms of food generation, it starts from even the producers, it starts from the farmers, the simple farmers that are around. And then he pointed at the fact that, okay, we need to educate these farmers on, best techniques to use in terms of their farming, expertise, so to say, improving on what they can do, both storing their crops, distributing their crops, or even the style of farming they actually implement. The information will be noted from the data they are able to store over the time, and which was iterated by a map. It was trying to explain the fact that you can actually cycle your crops based on the information you have around, the supply chain or the distribution chain, so to say. Which all this data can be imputed basically on the blockchain, an agricultural blockchain, which is actually really, really good. You also mentioned something about traceability. I was actually going to get there, which we surely will get there. And then there was something that piqued my interest, which was really beautiful. He beautifully said it, talking about being safe around what we eat, being able to track, it still boils down to traceability, but now falling into blockchain pharmaceuticals and agriculture. Because if we're talking about drugs, we're talking about pharmaceuticals, we can't but mention agriculture. Because even most drugs that we get, they resulted from studying plants or studying animals. It's all as a result of agriculture.
Can I interrupt you?
Okay, sure.
I saw an interesting article
Okay.
that every single day there at least 100 people were suffering from food poisoning from natural causes. This is not just giving food to people, but people who have food. They are suffering from natural food poisoning.
That they don't know what they are eating, they just end up eating and die.
They just go to the store, they buy something, and it might not be good for them. What if your system does not really ingest well, does not digest properly food that are manufactured under certain conditions? How do you know? Do you go to the store and ask them, oh, this chips?
They can't even know. The people at the store, they can't know that kind of information. Yeah.
If blockchain is embedded into agriculture properly, we could start seeing where you can see a shop, we can start reorganizing shelf life. A proper analysis will be given, and this is, like I said, traceability. We can go back 10 years into a plant circle. If you're coming from this plant, from your parent plant, we could trace back and understand, okay, and it could reinform us about how we handle food that will prevent wastage of food, like you said.
So now, saying all these things, it feels like a lot of work. If I was a farmer right now, I go to the farm, I finish tilling the ground, the soil, I put in some crops, and after a few months or some years, I end up seeing results. And you're telling me that I should now start getting data of every crop I have, I put it on the blockchain. I take a picture, or however form I want to store the data, or maybe I go down into the cells, trying to differentiate from their different cell types or their structures, putting it on the blockchain. It feels like a lot of work, to be honest. Like just looking at it from outside. How else do you think? Like what applications? This would actually go to Zik. How do you think? Like looking at facilitating because obviously even without blockchain, you can store data even without blockchain. People, they already store data. Companies, or should I say companies? What's the word? Malls, stores, what they call shopping centers and whatnot.
Shopping malls?
I think that's not the word I'm looking for, but it's okay. But you understand what I'm going to. Yeah. Where they sell food items, big malls where they sell food items, they already have a data set where they store data and what's on the back end. Although right now, companies are already utilizing blockchain as a technology for storing data. But before blockchain started becoming the something you can use, the technology to be used, before blockchain came along, people, they had to go, by ledger systems on the PCs. They just save it on a centralized form of, storage, which reduces the security. I don't want to say too much on that, but now, why should I go through that process of storing data? It's still the same thing. Even if it's going to be decentralized, it's still the same thing. Why should I have to put it on the blockchain? Or how else can I put it on the blockchain that can ease my life or ease my stress?
Alright, that is beautifully said. So Mapox talked a lot in depth about traceability. So what beautiful thing about technology is, no item in the technology space grows alone. Everything grows simultaneously. For blockchain to grow, things like IoT, artificial intelligence, also has to grow, and things like connectivity, internet connectivity, also has to grow too. And if you put that in conceptualize that, you see that we need IoT to play a big role here for blockchain to be able to be more efficient. And why do we need blockchain? We can do all this without blockchain actually, but blockchain is more of decentralization and proof and trust. Understand? People can know that, alright, regardless of whatever, I know that this thing there is authenticity to this thing, because I know that it cannot be altered. You understand? There is proof of work, there is trust in the system. That is what blockchain brings.
Mm-hmm.
But blockchain cannot do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
It needs things like IoT.
Mm-hmm.
Now, IoT can come in different forms, different things like sensors and a lot of things. And that is where you begin to talk about how can it make life easy for farmers. So farmers can place, of course, right now, sensors are becoming even much more cheap. You understand? So we can place sensors in a lot of places, even in the ground, even in the tractors they use, in the storage silos and everything. We can place sensors everywhere. Understand? But those sensors will be like generating different kind of data. Some will be atmospheric, some will be humidity, some will be the texture of the land, some will be how frequency and the rest. It just depends on the kind of data that is being gathered. You understand? So sensors can play a huge role here. You understand? And that sensors will now converge in things like application, user-friendly applications that farmer can just type one number, you understand?
And something happens.
Because there's already sensors placed all over the place, generating the data, and the blockchain technologies at the back end, refining this data with the assistance of AI technology, refining this data to something that can generate meaningful things to the farmer themselves.
So from your point of view, would you say any farmer that is refusing to accept innovation or be innovative in themselves, like, do you think they will be left behind? Is that an idea
They will be left behind. If we are not farming like our forefathers, great grandfathers, they were not using the technology they were using. You understand? So if you're not using that technology, you understand, you're using the modern technology, what is stopping you from using even more modern technology that is coming through?
Okay, so now we're trying to say blockchain solves the problem, potentially solve the problem of wastage, food wastage, right? And now we're also saying that it can also facilitate or speed up the process of data storage, which obviously it's already obvious. Blockchain is already doing that in the financial system in terms of data storage. You can look at centralized exchanges. The amount of data they have is amazing. So with regards to data storage, it just depends on how you program the blockchain. It's down to your team of programmers.
Ready to love it, you gotta advance. Got an attendance, you never look back. Mind independent and looking to step. What can you give to be part of a crowd? A vision of change, a lit in the black. Rocking the tag, it's sticking on mine. Bringing the change, we're bringing the change. We're bringing the change.
You gotta break the chain and reevaluate yourself. Read books, take trips, do research. The world is going digital, you gotta stay connected. Search for information, get some data, be with the business. Educate your mind around the concept of the blockchain. Gotta learn. Look, smart contracts and NFT gon' build the metrics. DeFi will put the big banks out of business. Bitcoin I hit will be the greatest store of value.
I hope you learned a whole lot. Until next time, this was the Alt Talk Show.